As Apple moves to India and Vietnam to build factories, the cooperation between Chinese mobile phones and China's manufacturing industry chain has become closer, and the technical level of China's manufacturing industry chain has also been improved. This article will discuss the two aspects of industrial chain technology upgrading and market changes, analyze Apple's impact on China's mobile phone and China's manufacturing industry chain, and summarize the reasons and significance of strengthening cooperation between China's mobile phone and China's manufacturing. For the manufacturing industry chain, technological upgrading is led by the consumer side. Only when terminal products such as mobile phones are adopted can technology continue to be upgraded. Therefore, the industry chain needs to consider whether terminal manufacturers will adopt it when conducting technology research and development. As the leading manufacturer in the mobile phone industry, Apple has an important influence on China's manufacturing industry chain. Apple invests heavily in technology research and development in the industry chain and provides support to help industry chain companies purchase important equipment. This makes China's mobile phone industry chain give priority to cooperation with Apple to obtain more profits and technological advantages. Take BOE as an example. After mass-producing OLED panels, the company's first consideration was to cooperate with Apple to enhance its position in the industry chain. In addition, changes in Apple's supply chain also prove the close cooperative relationship between terminal manufacturers and the industry chain. For example, after OFilm entered Apple's supply chain, its revenue increased rapidly, but after it was kicked out of the supply chain, its revenue also declined rapidly. The importance of technological upgrading of the industrial chain is self-evident. Maintaining competitiveness and meeting consumer demands requires continuous promotion of technological development and innovation. However, the process of technology research and development is full of risks and uncertainties. Upgrading a technology requires huge investment, and failure will result in the loss of the initial investment. Therefore, in the process of technology research and development, close cooperation between the industry chain and terminal manufacturers is crucial. The adoption of terminal manufacturers means the commercialization of technology, while the participation of the industry chain accelerates the promotion and application of technology. It is precisely because of the needs of terminal manufacturers and the participation of the industry chain that technology can move from the laboratory to the market and achieve real technological upgrades. In the past few years, China's manufacturing industry chain has been influenced by Apple. However, as Apple's trend of shifting its supply chain becomes more and more obvious, Chinese mobile phone and Chinese manufacturing industry chains have begun to think about how to develop independently and strengthen cooperation. Taking Huawei as an example, due to constraints in overseas supply chains, they began to actively seek cooperation in the domestic industry chain and achieved a breakthrough in chip localization in just a few years. This successful case inspired domestic mobile phone manufacturers, who began to realize that only through the support of the domestic industry chain can real innovation and technological progress be achieved. At the same time, domestic supply chain companies also realize that cooperation with mobile phone manufacturers is crucial. By cooperating with mobile phone manufacturers, they can obtain technology priority in advance and share the dividends of the market. Therefore, it has gradually become a consensus to strengthen cooperation between China's mobile phone and China's manufacturing industry chain, which will accelerate the technological upgrading of China's manufacturing. With Apple's trend of shifting its supply chain, Chinese supply chain companies have also begun to follow suit. Many companies have built factories in Vietnam and plan to enter India. However, these companies that have built factories locally have found that it is not easy to become Apple suppliers. Although Vietnam has become a more successful market for Chinese supply chain development overseas. The development of the Indian market is relatively difficult. Cultural differences, workers' technical level, and other factors make Chinese companies face many challenges when setting up factories in India. In addition, India's attitude towards Chinese companies has also caused them to have many concerns about setting up factories in India, further increasing the risks in the Indian market. What's more noteworthy is that Apple's proportion of mainland Chinese companies in the supply chain has been continuously decreasing, gradually increasing manufacturers from Japan, South Korea and Taiwan. This leaves Chinese supply chain companies that have built factories in Vietnam facing huge difficulties. This issue also reveals the discrimination against Chinese mobile phones in overseas supply chains. Take Sony as an example. The company supplies its most advanced cameras to Apple and Samsung, but has never provided products of the same level to Chinese manufacturers. This unfair treatment once again proves the distrust and discrimination against Chinese mobile phones in overseas supply chains. Therefore, China's mobile phone and China's manufacturing industry chains have begun to strengthen cooperation and reduce their dependence on overseas supply chains. Market changes are one of the important driving forces for the development of industrial chain cooperation. For Chinese mobile phones and China's manufacturing industry chain, they face huge challenges and opportunities in the face of Apple's trend of shifting supply chains. For Chinese supply chain companies that have set up factories in Vietnam, although they have achieved certain success, they still face the problem of continuing to become Apple suppliers. For Chinese mobile phones, past failures have made them realize the unreliability and risks of overseas supply chains, and they have begun to realize the importance of cooperation and domestic industrial chains. However, market changes are not only affected by Apple's shifting supply chain. The competitive environment at home and abroad is also constantly evolving, and changes in market demand are also driving closer cooperation between China's mobile phones and China's manufacturing industry chain. Take Huawei as an example. In recent years, due to well-known reasons, Huawei's cooperation with the domestic supply chain has been strengthened. Through close cooperation with supply chain companies, Huawei has achieved localization of chips and successfully launched a 5G mobile phone. This successful case prompted other domestic mobile phone companies to also strengthen cooperation with the domestic supply chain to cope with market changes and technical challenges. To sum up, as Apple shifts its supply chain, it has become an inevitable trend to strengthen cooperation between China's mobile phone and China's manufacturing industry chain. The technological upgrading of the industry chain relies on the adoption of terminal manufacturers and the participation of the industry chain, and changes in the market push China's mobile phone and China's manufacturing industry chain to rethink development strategies and strengthen internal cooperation. This will not only help the technological upgrading of China's manufacturing industry chain, but also provide more stable and reliable supply chain support for Chinese mobile phone manufacturers.